Zen and the Art of Remaining Awake, Part 5, the 1st of January 2021. The notion that we should treat each other as we would wish to be treated beats as the heart of the perennial philosophy, a worldview espoused by Aldous Huxley in his book of that name. Huxley recognized that all the world's religions and wisdom traditions share a single, recurrent, underlying, universal truth regarding the nature of reality and consciousness, and that the Golden Rule is the central ethical tenet of this philosophy, a principle acting as a common moral foundation for all humanity. The Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, originated independently across multiple ancient cultures, its earliest known recording originating in ancient Egypt. Thus, the perennial philosophy was preached in bygone eras by Greek and Roman Stoics, as well as by Confucius, an individual long regarded as the paragon of the Chinese sages. Born 550 years before Christ, Confucius was the Buddha's contemporary. But he would have been unfamiliar with the enlightened one's teachings, as centuries passed before Buddhism spread from Nepal to China. Nevertheless, there are striking similarities concerning both men's recognition of the central role of thought in shaping any individual's destiny. The Buddha demonstrated that thoughts are the seeds from which emotions, actions, and, ultimately, character evolves. Confucius expressed the same notion with characteristic brevity. The man who says he can, and the man who says he cannot, are both correct. When asked by a disciple if there was a simple rule that could guide a person throughout their life, Confucius replied, "How about, do not do unto others what you do not want done to yourself?" This silver rule mirrors and deepens the Golden Rule, which no one preached with greater enthusiasm than the 18th century English evangelist John Wesley, who implored his followers to do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, for as long as ever you can. Intuition and empirical evidence leads one to conclude that altruism can be traced back further still, to prehistory, for empathy is far from being solely a human characteristic. Though the food chain requires nature to be read in tooth and claw, Alfred Lord Tennyson's words, the internet is awash with photographs and films of our fellow creatures helping one another. Examples abound of not just cooperative behaviours which benefit both species, a bird removing ticks from a giraffe's mouth, or cleaner fish removing parasites, but entirely altruistic interventions, such as dolphins protecting seals from shark attacks, a bear in a zoo rescuing a drowning crow, or a dog scooping water onto a stranded fish. In the journal Psychology Today, Dr. Mark Keckhoff points out that cross-species bonds are not that uncommon, and that, for example, dogs and fish have been known to form close friendship bonds. He cites the case of Chino, a golden retriever, and Falstaff, a 15-inch koi carp, who had regular meetings at the edge of Falstaff's pond for 6 years. Each day when the dog arrived, Falstaff would swim to the surface and nibble Chino's paws. Empathy is hardwired into the DNA of sentient beings, and an ability to forge an emotional resonance with another human being is, if not a panacea, then a crucial element in the healing required by our increasingly atomized society. Professor Simon Baron-Cohen is optimistic, prescribing empathy as a universal solvent because, according to the Cambridge psychologist, any problem immersed in empathy becomes soluble. Confucius believed three things cannot remain hidden for long: the moon, the sun, and the truth. That comment remains true of the sun and the moon, but the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, is an increasingly exotic animal, in most parts of the world endangered, and in some entirely extinct. But today is a day for looking forward with hope. That surely is the right thing to do every day, but perhaps particularly today, New Year's Day, a fitting occasion to be optimistic. To be as optimistic as Professor Baron-Cohen even. So I trawl the internet for evidence that Dr. Martin Luther King was correct in asserting that the arc of the moral universe, though long, ultimately bends towards justice. Perhaps it's confirmation bias, but evidence accumulates to support his proposition. For on New Year's Day, 1808, the importation of slaves into America was banned. On New Year's Day, 1861, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and more recently, concerning another matter of life or death, on New Year's Day, 1971, it became illegal to advertise cigarettes on American television. Was Dr. King onto something? Are time and progress actually synonymous? But my positivity evaporates. As I recall that we've left the EU, we have cut ourselves adrift from our nearest neighbours, and I am in no mood to serenade Nigel Farage with, "All right, okay, you win." A new Banksy appeared overnight. A workman up a ladder is chipping a star from the flag of the European Union. To rub salt in the wound, I learned that Johnson's father, Stanley, applied for a French passport just hours before the Brexit transition period ended. If I can't change the world, I can, perhaps, heed Mahatma Gandhi's advice and change myself. It's the first day of vegan January, so instead of cow's milk, I pour almond milk over my muesli. Rather than butter, I spread Benecol on my toast. As I do so, I recall the Mahatma's autobiography, the story of my experiment with truth, which reveals the great man's fascination with nutrition. Gandhi, who was determined to do all the good he could by all the means he could for as long as ever he could, was therefore also resolved to ensure that his mind, mood and body were functioning at their optimum levels. Confirmation that Brexit is far from a settled matter leaps out at me from my morning paper. Economic, political and psychic shock waves still reverberate. Yasmin Alibhai-Brown is fuming. She begins an article about the catastrophe by quoting Jean le Carré, who died just 2 weeks ago, shortly after he acquired Irish citizenship. I am English to the core, but my England would be one that recognises its place in the EU. The jingoistic England that is trying to march us out of the EU, that is an England I don't want to know. Le Carré, who worked for both MI5 and MI6, the security service, and the Secret Intelligence Service, is expressing a sentiment shared by millions of his fellow countrymen. In fact, according to all recent opinion polls, the majority of them. Nevertheless, Alibhai-Brown feels isolated and demonized. Remainers, she asserts, have become the silenced majority, and she summons the shade of Dylan Thomas to break that silence. We need to rage, she urges us, against the dying of the light, and we need to defy censors by having conversations about leave spivs, including Farage, Johnson, Gove, Gisela Stewart and Kate Howie, now a baroness, who all became Brexit heroes. The line-up of the usual suspects is not conducive to pleasant thoughts, so I set my paper aside and reach for a long-neglected book, The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Rome's emperor, from 161 to 180 AD. This extraordinary individual informs me that the perfection of moral character consists in passing every day as the last, and in being neither violently excited, nor torpid, nor playing the hypocrite. According to Aurelius, the greatest good in life is acquired by striving for, grasping and draining a holy grail brimming with virtue. Virtue is an elixir composed of 4 cardinal ingredients: justice, courage, wisdom, and temperance. Justice is often represented by a set of scales, courage by a lion, wisdom by an owl, and temperance by a lotus flower, a flower which, in the Buddhist tradition, is symbolic of purity, spiritual awakening, faithfulness, and rebirth, for it rises above the muddy waters of worldly attachment, emerging pure and untouched like the Buddha himself. If you have digested that, you will understand why Cicero, another Stoic, believed the man who has virtue is in need of nothing whatsoever for the purpose of living well. That the sentence trips so easily off the tongue, the man who has virtue is in need of nothing whatsoever for the purpose of living well, probably indicates that I haven't grasped, let alone drained, what is implied by those 4 words: justice, courage, wisdom, and temperance. Cicero stressed that these 4 aspects of virtue are required in every decision we make, and particularly at moments of misfortune. Seneca, another Stoic, said he pitied rather than envied those who had never experienced misfortune. They have passed through life, he said, without an opponent, and so no one can ever know what they were really capable of, not even themselves. Seneca's apparent indifference to suffering brings me full circle back to Confucius, who is recorded by a student to have observed that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trial. It was that most romantic of the romantic poets, John Keats, who expressed the fear that philosophy will clip an angel's wings. Reassuring and nourishing though I find stoical observations, my wings are in need of an updraft, of beauty, and even of sublime rapture. So who else to turn to than Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet and Sufi mystic who lived in Konya, a city in modern-day Turkey. There are countless poems of his from which to choose, but Looking for Your Face is the one that, randomly, opens before me. Looking for your face. From the beginning of my life, I have been looking for your face. But today, I have seen it. Today I have seen the charm, the beauty, the unfathomable grace of the face that I was looking for. Today I have found you, and those who laughed and scorned me yesterday are sorry that they were not looking as I did. I am bewildered by the magnificence of your beauty, and wish to see you with 100 eyes. My heart has burned with passion, and has searched forever for this wondrous beauty that I now behold. I am ashamed to call this love human, and afraid of God to call it divine. Your fragrant breath, like the morning breeze, has come to the stillness of the garden. You have breathed new life into me. I have become your sunshine, and also your shadow. My soul is screaming in ecstasy. Every fibre of my being is in love with you. Your effulgence has lit a fire in my heart, and you have made radiant for me the earth and the sky. My arrow of love has reached its target. I am in the house of mercy, and my heart is a place of prayer. It's time for fresh air and exercise, so I decide to get my boots on and stride down the lane to check whether, despite COVID regulations, my nearest man-made place of prayer remains open. St George's, Nailsworth's handsome parish church, houses a remarkable oil painting, Lorna May Wadsworth's 12-foot representation of The Last Supper. Modelled on Da Vinci's masterpiece, it features a black Jesus, challenging Eurocentric portrayals of Christ. Wadsworth is best known for her portrait of Margaret Thatcher, which hangs at the Conservative Party headquarters. But her depiction of the Last Supper made BBC News 2 years ago, when an air rifle bullet was discovered buried in it. It seems that even in sleepy Gloucestershire towns like Nailsworth, racists drag their knuckles. It really upset me, said the artist, to think that someone was so aggrieved by my portrayal of Christ that they wanted to attack it. As I lace my boots, I hear a singular and personal entreaty issued by the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, an appeal that, despite the chaos and din of empires rising and falling, still reaches me as it echoes down through the centuries. Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Simply be one.